on certain aspects of social welfare, leaving many aspects out, which have been definitely mentioned by the Holy Quran. For instance, the person who is to pay chatti, as we call it, how do you spell it in English?
Chatti?
No, liability of some sort. If somebody has to pay a liability of some sort, is under that liability, the government would not care where he gets his money from. The government would put him behind the bar. But from zakat, you can spend on that aspect. On a wayfarer, the money allocated for such purposes by a Canadian government is not spent as wished by the Holy Quran. Any wayfarer who is deprived of his money or somehow stands in his own right to receive something out of help as a help from zakat fund. So they are mu'allafatul qulub. This is also a region which is totally left out. So this is what I mean. There is not a total, complete oneness of purposes. There are small spheres here and there which overlap, but the entire purpose is mentioned by the Holy Quran do not overlap with the purposes where such money is taken as tax by the Canadian government is spent. So number one, this concept is wrong. Number two, the why of it are also important. The Holy Quran says that this is compulsory yet voluntary. Compulsory in the sense that when you return to me, you will be answerable to me for this if you do not pay. Voluntary in the sense that in this life on earth, if you do not pay, I will not bring you to books. You will continue enjoying yourself, and you will not be questioned, you will not be answerable to anyone for not paying this. That is to say, you will be free to enjoy as you please. That is to say, if you live outside an Islamic state, and this is exactly the situation in Canada and most of the countries in the world. In a true Islamic state, this would become compulsory. But individually, it does not become compulsory to all the Muslims spread out all over the world. It's compulsory only in the sense that once a non-payer dies, then he is answerable, but not in this life. But in Canada, in Europe, in other countries, it's not compulsory in that sense. And some people also believe that it's not compulsory even in the Muslim countries. In the sense that it is zakat, yet it is not received from the non-Muslims. And because to be a Muslim is a voluntary act, so once you accept a society, then the social obligations become a part of your entire obligations. So because to become a Muslim is not compulsory, so it is not compulsory anywhere. You can always walk out of this responsibility and liability. While the taxes are completely different. No distinction is made there. And willy-nilly we have to pay the taxes. So how can zakat and taxes be confused? They are different things altogether. And thirdly, this voluntary nature of this zakat makes it an act worthy of reward, while there is no reward attached to the tax you pay. Reward may be in the sense that something is reduced, some percentage, but that's not reward. That's lesser punishment. As far as the reward is concerned, there is no concept of reward attached to zakat whatsoever. And the zakat mentioned in the Holy Quran earns you a very great reward out of all proportion to what you really deserve. So even if she pays 20%, if she saves this 2.5%, she would be losing so much by way of rewards to be received from Allah that there will be no comparison to what she is saving and what she is missing. To save 2.5% and also miss that reward, that will not at all be desirable if she really knows what is in store for her. And also if she really knows what is in store for her if she saves that money, knowing that Allah wants her to pay. Otherwise, by way of wrath for Allah, then she would not even dare to think of this. So the religious system of sacrifices is in fact not to be compared with non-religious financial systems. The objectives are different, the scopes are different, the spheres of expenditure are different, the motivations are different. Everything is in fact totally different from the taxation system as you find in the ordinary world. Now, yes please.
Islam. Actually, this question is put by my wife, and this question is... Yes. And actually I thought... Today is the day of Canada. My name is Rashid Ahmed and I'm from Canada, Mississauga.
And also you're from India, huh?
No, actually I'm from Pakistan, from Khali.
Which part of Pakistan?
West Pakistan, Khali.
Khali? You belong to Khali?
Right, I belong to Khali. And we always actually thought that zakat is only for Muslim Islamic state. And that is only for the purpose of social benefits. To run a social Islamic...
Islam is that zakat is for every Muslim. This is a fundamental of religion, as I mentioned earlier by quoting from the Quran. It is a fundamental of religion, not only of religion of Islam, but of every religion, of every time. The Holy Quran presents the institution of zakat as a timeless institution belonging to the very roots of religion. So it is only our ignorance that we don't know that other religions also have the same system. But as far as the claim of the Holy Quran goes, this is the claim. So if this is a fundamental of Islam, anybody who lives outside the state of Islam, how can he be without a fundamental? Fundamental is something which is a part of, as if it is a part of the definition. If you call man Haywan-e Natiq, for instance, an intelligible man, living animal, and you miss the word intelligible, will he still be a man? Any animal is a living animal, or some animals are living animals. But if they are not intelligent living animals, rational I should say, rational living animals, then they can't be called men. And if they are rational animals, but not living, dead and turned to dust, they were of course, but they are not now. So all parts of a definition must apply in one single instance. Otherwise the definition would not be applicable, or it will lose its meaning. So when the Holy Quran includes zakat in the fundamentals of religion, as such, not only of Islam, So no person can be called a religious person at all if he does not have one of the important